without further ado, I want to introduce our panelists, and they're going to cover the art of poster collecting, which is a super exciting and popular topic, and we're lucky to have some of the world's leading authorities on it. So I want to introduce to you Tony Van Dam, Kevin Leneve, and Pete Vilmer. And Doug Hott couldn't join us today, but he's also part of this. Thanks, guys.
Is my mic on? Oh, there we go. Thank you, Gus. All right, so we are going to talk about a lot of different things related to Star Wars posters, and whether you're young or old, there's posters for everybody. And certainly there are some that are very expensive and some that don't cost you much at all. In fact, a lot of them can be giveaways. In fact, there might be some giveaways here, so let's think about that. So I have an esteemed panel here. I started when I was about 17 collecting posters. I saw Star Wars when I was 13, started at 17. I worked at a place in Tarzana called Fantasy Castle, and there they had movie posters, and there's a movie theater just down the street. I wanted movie posters. I couldn't get them at the movie theater because I wasn't an usher. Sometimes you can get them that way, but I was able to purchase some of these posters. Some that you actually see before you are my $20 to $40 purchases, which are not $20 or $40 today. But anyway, I hope you do enjoy our presentation, and I'll turn it over to Kevin.
Well, it's interesting. My first movie poster, I was either 6 or 7 years old. Somehow I got a 1981 Empire Strikes Back re-release poster from the movie theater in my hometown, and I don't remember how I got it, but it was on the wall. That was before ordering from the Star Wars fan club. A few years later, the fan club started offering movie posters as well, so that was a good resource as a young fan in the early 80s to get posters. Go ahead, Pete.
So we're talking about our first poster we ever found.
Sure.
I will say that was 1977. I was 8. I just dated myself. My father brought home one of the Hildebrandt posters that you see over here, except it was just the Factors artwork that you could buy at retail. That was the first poster I ever got. It went up on my wall, and I've literally collected ever since. So I've been collecting for about 45 years.
And again, we want to make sure that, we don't want to get too much into the intricacies, because sometimes we get a little anal about our posters and who did what and when and whatever. So we're trying to give you some broad perspective on posters and maybe get into some of the more nitty-gritty, but hopefully something for everybody here. So this is the Cinerama Dome, and I saw this outside the Cinerama Dome. I love this big billboard display. And this is what I like about movie posters, Star Wars movie posters, is that it really depicts scenes that you can imagine. A lot of the times, especially with the old Star Wars movie posters, they really depict fantasies and stories. These days, and you may notice this with a lot of movie posters, they just put heads upon heads upon heads, and it gets a little tiring. So we want to see excitement. We want to see imagination. I mean, this is what brought me to my love of Star Wars movie posters.
I want to see paintings and illustrations and artwork and original ideas. It's just gorgeous to look at classic movie posters.
So we're going to first talk about the original trilogy, or the OT theatrical movie posters. This is the half sheet for Star Wars, the original New Hope movie, they call it these days, which was also part of the Billboard. So this half sheet, if you don't have the Billboard, which is 24 by, it's huge, and we're going to see that later on. But you can get the half sheet.
Can you tell them how big this poster is, Tony?
It's 22 by 28 inches.
Yep.
It's not big.
It's moderate size, yeah.
Yeah, it's the one sheet. It's about half of the one sheets that are here.
Yep.
Now, I wanted to show you, going back into the prehistoric era, the original first poster for Star Wars.
Before the movie was released. Yep.
Exactly. In 1976, they were handing this out at the San Diego Comic-Con for, does anyone know?
Well, they were selling it.
Yeah, I know how much.
$1.75 was what they were going for those days, back in the day. Some of them were being given away, I understand. I didn't get one. I wasn't there, but I do have a
Was
poster.
anyone at the 1976 Comic-Con in the room? Just
or
curious.
the World Con
Or the World
in September.
No, okay.
That's the two shows they were selling those.
So in this picture, I'm showing
Too young.
a young Chaykin. Howard Chaykin was the artist for this poster, who also did the original Star Wars comic books. And there's a picture of me with an older Chaykin. And I wanted to point out the poster that the young Chaykin has. And that is not a poster per se. It's actually a shadow box made of the Chaykin poster. And they're, what I understand from Todd Reese, who was the creator of these shadow boxes, and he still does shadow boxes today, there are about 10 to 12 Chaikin posters to make up that shadow box.
Whoa.
Now, a Chaikin poster, I think, goes between $3,000 and $5,000 today. So you can imagine what that shadow box might be worth. Yeah, exactly.
Well, yes.
And that is another picture of the shadow box I overlaid. So you get a real good sense of what that shadow box looks like. And I know who owns it, and I want it, but I can't afford it.
It's a great piece.
It's okay to not buy every poster you want. It's okay. You don't have enough wall space.
It's true.
The next two posters I wanted to point out are the advanced posters for Star Wars. I think it's a great tagline, coming to your galaxy this summer. That's all it said. In 1976 Christmas, that is all it said. And you'll notice that there are two posters here. And the first one, can you see the one that's the first one here? It's actually displayed, is a Mylar poster. So they use silver foil to create this shiny look, which, back in those days, that was pretty incredible to see such a unique poster presenting a movie that no one knew anything about.
Yeah, it looks like aluminum foil, pretty much. Yeah.
Exactly. And then, if you notice on that poster, the Mylar poster, the W is a little different than the W we see today. It's a pointy W, right? The second poster, they finally corrected that. I understand that Joe Johnston may have been the person that corrected it, if anyone knows who Joe Johnston is. But this is the Star Wars logo that we know and love today. So now we're going into what are called the A, B, C, D of the Star Wars posters.
From the first film, yep.
Exactly. The first one to my left is the iconic Tom Young Star Wars poster that I think everyone knows and loves. The next one to that is the blue Advance poster. They call that the B sheet. I don't know why. Also, by the way, the A sheet didn't come out the time, May 25th, that Star Wars came out. It came out probably in June or July of that year. So there wasn't even a poster for Star Wars, except for maybe the blue one.
The blue one.
And the third one is Tom Chantrell. He's more popular in England because he had the UK poster, which was a quad of this poster. And this poster was kind of meant to be a quad poster. And the last one, and this
Can you tell them what a quad poster is?
Quad poster, it's 30, thank you, sir. It's 30 by 40 inches. It's more horizontal than vertical, and that's how they do it in the UK, and I think that's cool.
A British format primarily, right?
They have a lot of cool UK posters. And that's a hard poster to get here. I understand that was also used on Army bases, and that's the ones with the PG rating. So you don't see it a lot. I mean, I think you've seen it a lot commercially. I think it's pretty much everywhere. In fact, I'm wearing a shirt with it on it. But seeing that original poster, that's the hard thing to get. So keep that in mind. The last one, and I love this is kind of a swashbuckling scene here, is done by Drew Struzan and Charlie White III. Now, if you know Drew Struzan, he is one of the most prolific, not just Star Wars posters artists, but one of the most prolific artists of posters ever. And he lives in Pasadena. I won't tell you his address. But he's a really nice guy. He's done all these incredible posters. And so what happened with this, Charlie White was a great airbrush artist, and he pulled in Drew to do the portraiture work. So the portraiture work on this poster is done by Drew Struzan. An incredible poster, except they didn't give enough room for the credits on this poster when they originally did it. So what happened was they expanded the poster. They turned into what's called a wilding poster. So you see it kind of looks like it was printed up on a fence or something like that, and that's what it is. It's called like the wilding poster. It's also called a circus poster. So, and again, these are really the four big ones from the original series. And again, lovely posters. I understand that the D sheet is actually George Lucas's favorite, so he probably has the original painting somewhere, I'm guessing.
He does. But sadly, and I don't know how much this has been reported, it actually is faded somewhat. The airbrush work is faded over time, whereas the oils that Drew did are still rich.
Oh, okay. Good. That's good to know.
Would you happen to know where that is housed currently?
I do not, well, somewhere in his collection.
It's in the
I'm
collection.
sure.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. We'll leave it at that.
And can the locks be picked? I just
There is a George Lucas Museum being in development here in
Yes,
Los
there is.
Angeles, and there
Yes.
might be a
And-
few
and-
pieces in there at some point in time down the road. Yep.
My personal thing is I've been lucky enough to meet the artists who have done these posters. So appreciative that they have given so much of their time to the fans of their artwork. I mean, a lot of us are fans of the movie. I just happen to be fans of the artwork and the posters. You don't see artwork like this these days in movie theaters.
When did the D sheet come out?
The D sheet came out in around 1978. It came out a little later to continue the enthusiasm for Star Wars. So that's when the D sheet, even though I understand it was done earlier, it was produced later.
It was the general release in July '78. That's the poster that they actually selected for that. It was actually composed in '77, but they didn't use it until '78.
A D sheet? You can get a few different ones. I'm going to say it's still less than 1,000 for some of them. However, there are reprints, commercials. You got to be careful because we're looking at original posters. So that's the real challenge.
There's folded versions, there's rolled versions that mostly were inside the studio distribution channels. There's different printings at the bottom with NSS versus
That's National Screen Service.
National Screen Service versus the studio release. Yeah. So there's slight variations between posters, but usually for value, the rolled posters are going to be the ones that have the highest value. The folded posters are a little more common. It's just for presentation, the rolled posters are usually the top dollar premium collectibles.
Well, we're going to save the questions, I think, because but yeah, we'll try and answer your question a little later. I'm going to go on to The Empire Strikes Back. I think the advanced poster kind of said it all, that we wanted more Darth Vader. And so, hey, let's put Darth Vader front and center on that poster, and that's what happened with this poster. The one in the middle is really the A sheet that we all kind of know for Empire Strikes Back. However, it was recalled because Billy D. Williams wasn't featured, and he was kind of upset because in his contract he said, hey, I'm one of the main people, in this movie. Can you put me back on the poster? Because I do understand there was a poster before this poster that did have Billy D. Williams on it and Boba Fett on it, and they said it was too busy, and Bespin too. And they said it was too busy, and so they erased all that and they made this poster from it. By the way, does anyone know who the artist is and what his famous poster is, his most iconic poster is? Jaws?
Good.
You are absolutely right. So the guy that did, and his name is Roger Castell, who did the Empire Strikes Back poster you see here, was also the creator of the famous shark coming out of the water, attacking the swimmer, and that was the Jaws poster. So incredible poster. I also reference here, if you noticed it, the Gone with the Wind reprint of a Gone with the Wind poster, 1967. What's interesting about this poster, and we'll bring it up, Tom Young, who was the artist for the A sheet, was the designer for this poster, which is kind of coincidental. And you've noticed I've slapped on Han Solo and Princess Leia on this poster to just demonstrate how close it was to the Empire Strikes Back A sheet there. So I just thought that was so funny. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I think this one goes without saying is that the Return of the Jedi was the final name of the poster for the Return. The initial poster that came out, and this I think is when the real popularity of the posters came to be, is the initial title for Return of the Jedi was Revenge of the Jedi. I think most people know that. What's interesting about this, there were two Revenge of the Jedi posters. One had the date on it, and the other one did not. The one that had the date on it, I believe there was 8,000 made. That's what I understand. And it was given out in various ways through the Star Wars fan club. This is the rare one. This is the undated one, and I think there were 2,000 made, and so this is a real hot commodity if you can find one. And that's the trouble is now it's getting harder to find the old stuff. The unique thing about the Return of the Jedi is it's a test print. You'll notice it's a test print because it has the color bar still on it. If you don't want just the regular poster, if you're like me and you want to get more into it, I've gone after the test prints. And usually these are provided by, or kept, I'll say, by some of the people that worked at the actual printing places where the original posters were made. So these have been filtering out over the years.
Can you share the artist names on these two pieces? Did we...
Thank you.
Yep.
Revenge of the Jedi, that was actually Drew Struzan all by himself. And I believe the return was Kahiko Sano?
Sano, yeah.
Kazu Sano.
Yeah. I have
Kazuhiko.
Kazuhiko
Yeah.
Sano, thank you. Was that the, no, I'm thinking of it right. So, but that, anyway, that was the artist that did the Return of the Jedi poster. Okay, now we're going to go into a little bit, and this is where we want to know our stuff, into the bootlegs. And this is kind of scary if you're getting into this, and this is why we have a poster group. It's called Star Wars Poster Collectors Group on Facebook, where we try and help people not make the mistake of getting a bootleg poster, meaning it's basically a worthless poster.
By show of hands, how many people are on Facebook? Okay, so there's a poster club a collectors group that you can just join and learn about posters, Star Wars collecting, all this stuff. So please join the group if you're interested.
Star Wars Poster Collectors Group.
We made it easy to find. Yes.
Star Wars Posters Collectors Group. So we have two Revenge of the Jedis here. And, well, here's the backstory. The backstory was in the early 80s, someone used the original plates for the movie posters and made knockoffs of the B sheet, the A sheet, the Revenge of the Jedi sheet, and I think I'm missing one. And the Chanterelle. So they're all bootlegged, and they're all pretty much the same size. So now we have to figure out what to look for in terms of a bootleg versus an original. So with the Revenge, I'll make the simple one. The simple bootleg, which is the one which is a little more faded, also has a cloudy corner. So you'll notice that where the 20th Century Fox is, there's a little cloudy part there. So that's the bootleg. For the A sheet, I've got a little circle around that hair just below Luke Skywalker's belt. That is the bootleg with the hair on the belt. With the blue B black background one, which is, says, what does it say? Another galaxy in a
long time ago.
A long time ago in a galaxy. Thank you. In a far, far away. I've circled the GAU logo, which is the union that did the posters. If that GAU logo is not on that poster, that is a bootleg.
There are many of those Style B advanced bootlegs out there without that little GAU logo on it, so they're really easy to tell.
And in fact, if you want to look over here, and if anybody wants to pull a couple of those out, those are all bootlegs right there in that plastic bag. That's why I'm not treating them as special as these frame ones. You look at that and you go, oh, that's the A sheet. That's a bootleg of the A sheet. I bought it for $25 about a year ago.
But if all you want is something nice on your wall and you don't have hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars, then a bootleg is the way to go. It doesn't matter. It still looks good.
It still looks good.
It's just a resale issue. That's all it is.
And then there's some more bootlegs where the cropping is a little different. The C sheet has that little hair on R2-D2. It's a little more faded in the laser blast and things like that. So hopefully if you ever decide to get into this kind of poster collecting, you'll know what to look for, and we want to help you. We want to get the scam artists to stop selling this junk to collectors who really want originals, the real thing. However, if you ever want to buy a reprint or whatever, that's fine too.
There's a budget for everyone.
Exactly. All right, now we're going to go into the crazy international posters. Oh boy. There's a lot of fun here. Now, there are thousands of Star Wars posters. That's an incredible thing. Out of all movie posters, Star Wars is it in terms of posters, because they got all different types. So I'll tell you where these are from. And one is here, the Polish one, with the exploding Vader head for Return of the Jedi, is down there. There's the Russian one at the top there with that's all the crazy aliens. I think in Russia it came out in the 1990s, early 1990s. So, and Russian Eastern Bloc was not getting a lot of information about Star Wars, so this is the kind of posters you get. Below that is the Greek poster, would actually fashioned on the half sheet. So, there's a similarity there. And the last one is from Denmark. So, again, a lot of these countries are still using a lot of the iconic stuff, but there's also a lot of different stuff as well. So again, speaking of all the different styles here, we have Yugoslavia, we have Mexico, we have the UK, and Turkey. Turkey is here as well. And if you look at the Turkey one, it's right, is it right here? Next to the Spanish one? So you can see how the different countries do these colors, and this is the Hildebrand artwork, and I love the Hildebrand artwork because in terms of Star Wars posters, these ones really pop. But you can see how different countries do it a little differently, and again, it's to your liking, but I love the Spanish
So
one.
speaking about the Hildebrand artwork, and Pete mentioned this a little while ago, like one of your first posters was the Factors posters of this, right?
That's right.
So Factors was this company in the late 70s that that released commercial posters. Like you could go into a record store or somewhere and just pick up a poster for any Star Wars, for the first Star Wars movie at that time. And this Hildebrand artwork was a very popular version for, just a few dollars for a poster that you could, as a kid, you could put that on your wall, and it wouldn't necessarily be a theatrical poster that they would use in cinemas, but it still uses the famous artwork by that illustration tandem of the brothers Hildebrand.
That's right, yes. Actually, I just want, if I could just speak to the Hildebrands real quick. You want to go back a slide? I'd just like to note on that first one from Turkey, I believe it's from Turkey, the X-Wing up there in the right-hand corner, it's the only one that exhibits that. That actually was lifted off the model kit box art. So I
didn't
always
know
thought that was fun. And the one on the far right is the UK quad. It's probably one of the most rare and expensive
And
Star Wars
desirable.
posters,
Yeah, very
these
desirable
days.
one.
They were only used for just a couple weeks prior to the release of the film in December '77.
Do you know what became the common British poster after that?
The Chantrell.
The Chantrell, right, okay.
Yeah.
Style C, yep.
Yeah.
And you can see here the iconic Tom Young work used in a number of countries. Here we have, let's see, I got Israel, I have Australia, I've got Belgium, sometimes I think that's French, but I say
Yeah,
Belgium.
It is French, but it's Belgium.
Belgium, Italy, and Germany, and the last one, Sweden. So again, Tom Young artwork done in different ways. I think with the Swedish poster, they really kind of changed it up at the top there, again, using X-Wings and all that. So, you can
different
see how...
They put Han Solo and Chewbacca in it, too.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But is that photo art, or is that,
That's, I believe it is photo art.
And again, the Tom Chantrell artwork used in different ways.
for the international campaigns, yep.
We got Hong Kong here, Finland, Yugoslavia, Mexico, and Thailand. And I love Thailand's poster because in that corner underneath R2-D2, it says War of the World. Instead of Star Wars, it's War of the World. So I love that. This one's kind of unique because this artwork was not used in the States for, I don't know why, but it's fantastic artwork. This one, there's two here. There's the Australian version of Empire Strikes Back here, and there's the Spanish version of the Empire Strikes Back here. And this is by Noriyoshi Orai, who's also pretty famous for doing Godzilla poster artwork. An incredible artist. One of my favorite Star Wars posters. If you ever get to see it in person, it's beautiful.
Actually, the artwork here was favored by the studio. They wanted to go with this poster in the U.S., but Lucasfilm said, no, we want the Gun with the Wind poster. So we got the Gun with the Wind. That's the story on that.
By the way, I'm only showing you like a small percentage of all Star Wars posters. There are literally thousands of different
There is
posters.
a book about Star Wars posters, isn't there,
Oh,
Pete?
yeah.
You want to talk about your book real quick? Oh, it's a sidebar.
No,
well,
Pete, do you know who wrote that
several
book about
books.
Star Wars posters?
There's several books out there, but Pete wasn't part of one of the most important historical biographical books on Star Wars
Well,
posters.
Steve Sansweet and I both wrote it.
And Rancho Obi-Wan, yes.
Yes, and Rancho Obi-Wan. Steve down at Rancho. He and I wrote.
So if you're looking for a visual resource on movie posters,
Yeah.
That's Star
It's
Wars.
still a great guide. I mean, it shows. It's
What was
got
the
a
title?
checklist.
The title again officially
The
is
Star Wars poster book.
very
Can't-
easy
can't
title.
go wrong.
Yes. Okay.
It's well illustrated. There's actually a checklist in the back, something we would never do in a reprint because
But that was
there's
before.
so many posters.
That was before Disney.
It helps.
That was
It
before
helps.
Disney. It was before Disney took over, right?
Oh yeah, this was 2005. I think.
Right after Episode 3. Okay.
All right, now we're going to get into some real fun here.
Yeah, these are some.
Yes,
wacky-
that is a Star Wars poster. You may recognize some of the characters. This one's from Hungary. So really cool piece of Star Wars work here. I love that.
That's extremely rare poster. I mean, there's only a couple mentors. I mean, it's very rare poster. Yeah.
Some other cool stuff from Hungary. This is by Heleni Dibor. I believe that's his name. He designed the poster for all 3 films. I don't know why he put this crazy lizard in the posters. That's the one thing that kind of throws me off. Everything kind of makes sense except for the crazy lizard with kind of an Arabian saber. I don't know. Cool stuff.
Do these posters look any better if you're intoxicated or on drugs or anything like that? I don't know. I'm just curious.
Probably.
And then there's, unfortunately, poor Romania didn't use much color in theirs. But hey, you can still get a sense of it. It's what they had, and they advertise, and that's cool. This is one of my favorites. We're getting into some other posters.
Changing gears here. Yep.
A little bit of a change. This was one of the first concert posters. However, this concert poster never got used for any concert. So therefore, it was not distributed at any concert because the concert was canceled. This is done by John Alvin, who also did the great Blade Runner poster, if you've ever seen the Blade Runner poster. He's also done Star Wars Celebration posters. Great artist.
Much like Drew Struzan, he's a prolific 80s movie poster artist and did a lot of Amblin films for Spielberg and other types of artwork.
This is a grail amongst many collectors, and I'm happy I have one of those. So I was lucky.
Actually, there was a Star Wars concert today at Star Wars Celebration. Did anyone see a concert today? Mm-hmm. Pretty cool concert today, wasn't it?
That's amazing.
Oh yeah.
John Williams.
Now I'm going to get into the limited posters. These are giveaways. You may have gotten a limited poster today. Those are always kind of cool. The one which is from Rogue One is about one of 15, I think it was 1,500 or 2,000. So again, you can get these sometimes when you go to an early Star Wars movie, like Rogue One. And
venue specific or theater chain specific?
El
or
Capitan for that one.
Type of cinema presentation specific? Like Dolby is a big brand nowadays, so Dolby will have their own version of movie posters in cinemas for specific big franchise films. Did you want to say the artist for the Hope poster at all? Do you know?
I don't know the artist for I don't know if there was.
Right.
It's more like an advertisement.
It's more of a graphic.
Yeah. The one in the center, though, is Mark Ratz. I don't know if many of you are familiar with Mark Ratz. He's a Perth from Australia artist. He did this one for Rogue One. He only did 10 of these. So this is one of 10.
But that solo art was used in Australia by Disney for marketing campaign a little bit in Australia, local region.
And the last one is just a deleted scenes poster, and again, it's like one of 1,500, so just something to think about.
But that's more of a home video type poster, right?
Yeah, it's more of a home video.
Yeah.
For the DVD or Blu-ray release,
Perhaps,
I think.
I honestly don't recall.
So again, it's what you're into, and again, these were giveaways, so I didn't pay anything really except to go watch a cool movie.
So there are posters that are made like after the film does its theatrical run, and as a kid in the 80s, movies were delayed a few years before they were released on home video, but eventually video stores would release posters as well to promote the VHS or the Betamax versions or Laserdisc, whatever the format was at the time. But modern times as well, if you go into current video stores, they have occasional posters to present those and advertise as well. Yep.
I'd like to actually add, like back in the day, both domestic and international, there was a wide array of artwork that could, as we've seen in the previous slides, available throughout several regions of the world. They don't do that anymore. As you know, most of the posters now are the same graphic across all regions. So these posters are great because they give the collector the ability to actually gather some different artwork that otherwise wouldn't have been seen, because these are handed out at various venues like Dolby, IMAX, etc. So
yes, IMAX.
It's a great new kind of category of poster collecting that otherwise we didn't have back in the old days.
Yeah, once in a while you'll see like overseas a modern poster that is a little different from the U.S. poster, but a lot of it is the same. There is a great reference site that I like to use, which is StarWarsMoviePosters.com. It's done by a guy named Paul Wilson, who is also an amazing Star Wars poster collector. And you'll get to see a real sense of all the movie posters, Star Wars movie posters across the world. So I would definitely recommend that site. In fact, we reference it on our Star Wars poster collectors group. I'm going into test prints because it's one of my things. A test print is a poster that before it gets to the movie theater, they do a look, they check it out, they check the colors and everything, and usually it has the color bar still on it, to see if the colors are correct or the way the image looks is the way they wanted it to look. And you'll notice this Empire Strikes Back one, the test print has a white title, but eventually when they finally got the movie poster out, they went with the yellow title. I also like the test prints personally because there's no chance it's going to be a fake so far. So far, I'll preface that by saying so far. I'm sure they'll make one day. And they're typically rolled, and I like folded, but I kind of like rolled. So anyway, that sounds like something else. Folded. We won't get into that. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Kevin because he's got something big to tell you.
All right. This is just a small reference of some of my personal collection items. What you see on the screen left with the Darth Vader is known as a 6-sheet poster. It's a small billboard size. It's approximately 81 inches by 81 inches. It takes up a space of a small wall. And so that poster came folded when it was released, and I had since had it linen backed and restored so that it's on a piece of canvas, basically. And after that, in this situation, I put it in a plexiglass frame as well for display. And then the poster on the right with the logo is basically the same thing as the Style B Advance, but it's a format that was called a 7-sheet, and that also came in 4 folded panel pieces of paper, and it's also been linen backed and restored as well. But what's unique about that Star Wars Style B 7-sheet is it actually has the release date down at the bottom for the films. It starts May 25th. And I believe it's the only piece of primary marketing material for advertising that has that May 25th date on it. So the 7-sheet of the Style B Advance, for my taste, is a pretty unique piece. I also collect other things besides posters, and you can see a statue off to the side. But that's just a sampling.
Boba Fett is protecting his poster.
For me, bigger is better. I mean, I love all of these 1-sheet sizes, but it's also the bigger posters are more rare because they printed them in fewer quantities. And there's less likely a chance that they're bootlegged. But they just stand out to me. I just love when you walk into a room and there's this huge wall and there's this huge piece of graphic imagery and artwork and illustration. It's just overwhelming. It's pretty cool.
And also, he mentioned linen backing, and that's an important thing. It's a way if your poster is starting to deteriorate or get old, or if you want to reduce fold length. Like my Spanish sheet over here with the Hildebrand, that was actually a folded poster, but if you look at it really closely, you can't tell, because they did some linen backing and some restoration, and it looks really good. But recommend linen backing only as a last resort. However, it's a great method of keeping your poster intact.
All right. So on screen right is actually a image taken at Rancho Obi-Wan because of a recent discovery they made. They found a 24-sheet billboard from the first film, which is the Style A half-sheet artwork, which is also featured on my T-shirt at the moment. Again, the 24-sheet billboard was used just on billboards out on streets or highways or wherever, or cinemas basically. But the dimensions on those are approximately 20 feet by 9 feet. And again, it's 24 pieces of folded paper as how they were distributed, and the movie cinemas would just tack them up on the wall and glue them together essentially. Finding 24-sheet billboards is extremely rare. They're very, very valuable. In the thousands of dollars if you find them at auction houses or eBay or wherever. But it's nice to find a few rare discoveries like that. I do not own the 24-sheet Style A, but one day it's on my hit list.
Nice to own, but you'll never display it.
Can you go back?
Oh, sure.
They're just too big.
And then screen left is also in a room in my house where I've got the 7-sheet version of the Style A. But if you look at the smaller posters next to it, the Revenge of the Jedi on the top, and then underneath it is actually a Star Wars L'Affiche from France. They made this poster in the mid-'80s that showed a bunch of the primary original trilogy posters. And so as a young child, a teenager, this poster existed that showed about 25 or 30 posters on it. And before books were printed with a whole history of posters, this poster by itself stands out as a reference guide of what you could collect through the history of the early trilogy. But again, the 1-sheet size compared to the 7-sheet size scale is just enormous difference. Here's another, this is an example of a 24-sheet billboard for Return of the Jedi. The way the layout of the artwork is on the screen right, and then the title card graphics are on the left. Again, this is 20 feet by 9 feet approximately. Star Wars goes to Disney years before it actually went to Disney. So in the 80s, I'm sorry, what year was Star Tours released? Do you remember?
1987.
87, okay, somewhere in there. So Disney and Lucasfilm joined forces to make a great theme park ride just across the street from here. And the poster in the middle and the poster on the right were posters that were used for that original release at Disneyland. And then the poster on the left is for Florida's version of the theme park ride that opened soon after in MGM Studios at the time, I believe is what it was called in Orlando. But again, artwork that was created, illustration artwork for a Star Wars related release. And I just wanted to share these as additional related posters.
And maybe some of you have also seen the planet posters. They have like Endor and Hoth. They were also from Disney, and I think there's 8 of them, 7 or 8. I'm not sure. But those are also cool posters to collect.
There's actually a different poster which I guess didn't make the slideshow, and that's okay. But I just want to mention it. There was a Japanese release that has an extraordinary artwork on it. And I don't know how many of those were actually released at the Tokyo Disney ride, but there's definitely some early test prints of that poster artwork, like the actual attraction poster. Like, because when you walk into Disneyland for the rides, they have these posters right under the bridge near the train ride, and so Star Tours happen to be a big attraction poster. Like if you go there now, you'll see an attraction poster for the Indiana Jones ride. You'll see an attraction poster for the new version of Star Tours, which currently shows some Episode 9 Star Destroyers everywhere. But it's cool to have theme park attraction posters in addition to theatrical posters.
Very rare. And the Star Tours attraction poster is one of the most attractive posters you can buy, and if you can find one. The one you're referring to.
Yeah, the one from Japan. Yeah, if anyone sees one on the exhibit hall floor, please let me know.
Yeah, you won't find one.
You won't find. I know. Somebody bought it this morning. No, right.
All right, now we're going to get into some of the more modern stuff. You know, again, I mentioned before, a lot of the posters have these heads upon heads and stuff, and it's all the actors. So now we're looking at some alternative stuff, some things that are being produced that from other kind of independent movie posters, and there's some great stuff. It's amazing stuff, and I think this first one will give you an indication of that. This is for Rogue One.
So modern day artists, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Modern day artists. And these, I think you can still, I shouldn't say this because I want one. I haven't got it yet. You can still see some of these on eBay. They're not too much. The ones that are going to come up are.
Okay, so this is an artist named Ollie Moss, and this was one of the hugest, very desirable trilogy poster set that was originally released at Mondo out of Texas. I don't know, these are almost 10 years old now, I think. Something like that. So they're just very iconic looking pieces of graphic art with main characters of 3PO, Boba Fett, and Vader with the different planetary backgrounds. This was a very limited print run, and just a few hundred, I think. Maybe 300 or 400. I'm not sure what the run was, but they sold out instantly, and now the set's worth in the thousands of dollars just as a collector market piece.
They're competing with original Star Wars movie posters now.
Yeah, I mean, just because the limited edition version, the silk screen quality printing of it. So this is an example from this particular artist, Ollie Moss. Now, before you flip to the next slideshow, I actually did want to mention, when we're on the subject of alternative movie posters, poster art that happened after the original release of the films. In the late 80s, there was actually a poster producer named Jeff Killian that Lucasfilm licensed to produce alternative movie posters essentially for the Star Wars trilogy 10 years later. Like, so when Star Tours opened, they made a 10th anniversary poster for Star Wars the film that Drew Struzan actually illustrated. And so you could go to Disneyland and buy a 10th anniversary Drew Struzan poster it's 27 by 41, the regular one-sheet styles. But in addition to that Drew Struzan poster, Jeff Killian produced a run of various type of graphic imagery where there were some silver foil versions, there were some gold foil versions. There's like a logo just like the Style B. It just says a long time ago with the classic logo. They did an Empire Strikes Back Mylar version. There's a Boba Fett head Mylar version.
That Boba Fett's really popular.
There's a silver Tauntaun variation from 1990, I believe, which was the 10th anniversary of Empire. So anyways, before the Mondo happened, 10 years ago or whenever that started to hit, Killian was actually a licensee from Lucasfilm for alternative movie posters back in the late 80s and early 90s. Okay, so let's go on the next slide. So Tyler Stout is another graphic illustrator, highly desirable, that does all kinds of movie posters for different titles. But this was his trilogy set for Star Wars Empire and Jedi. And again, similar to the Ollie Moss set, this was a very limited print run. Very comic book style art. Just there's so many characters on it. It's just you could look at these posters for days trying to pick out all the different heads that are in there.
I think Waldo's in one of them. I'm not sure.
I know this poster. I know that character. I know this character. So they're really cool. And actually, with these alternative movie posters, because they're only limited print runs of 300 or 400 or whatever the number is, sometimes they'll actually release an alternative color variation of that same style. And so there's an alternative release version of this particular trilogy set with a different color scheme. And that variant version actually has a smaller print run than the main print run. So there may only be 200 or so of the variations. And so those are even sometimes more desirable collectible price-wise. But either version is still highly valuable for these types of alternative movie posters. Okay, next slide. So I just wanted to mention a couple of other well-known artists that happen to be at comic book conventions or movie magazine illustrations as well. Mark Ratz did the Star Wars A New Hope poster on the left. Jerry Vanderstelt did the Force Awakens poster in the middle. Jerry Vanderstelt actually has a booth on the exhibit hall floor. I saw him this morning.
You got to check him out.
I walked by his booth. I'm like, yeah, I know his art. And then Paul Shipper, I believe he's an artist out of the UK. Is that?
That's correct.
Right. But the poster on the right is one of my personal all-time favorite of all-time Star Wars theatrical posters. It's for Episode 8, The Last Jedi, but it's done by Paul Shipper. But this was a Dolby version release poster for Episode 8, exclusively at Dolby Cinemas, and it was printed in very small numbers. It's very hard to find an authentic Dolby poster.
I think I have
like
a
this.
bus shelter signed by Paul Shipper, actually.
Yes, they're. So this is
That's
one
a jealousy
sheet.
move.
This is a one sheet size, 27 by 40. But what Tony just mentioned is a bus shelter. So much like I was just showing you Billboard posters that were massive, 24 sheets. At the same time, at current modern day bus stops, you will find movie posters as far as modern marketing, advertising, or IMAX films. If you go to an IMAX cinema, they often will have a bus shelter for an IMAX version of that poster, which is a variation on the main key art for that theatrical release as well. So yes, there is a bus shelter that exists on that Dolby Last Jedi. Next slide. These are a couple more illustrations from Mark Ratz. He did a Rise of Skywalker on the left, Episode 9, and a 40th anniversary Empire Strikes Back on the right. Again, he released these in limited quantities as just professional artwork samples, and then I believe the Rise of Skywalker poster was released as mini prints in Australia, perhaps. Do you know, Pete?
I don't.
Yeah. But again, by region, this particular artist is based in Australia, so I think Lucasfilm has supported him with a few specific releases in his home country.
One of the things I like about the Rise of Skywalker poster, it does culminate as the last movie, but each image is a separate vignette of all the different Star Wars movies. So I think it's a great tribute to Star Wars, the original trilogies.
Thank you for pointing that out, Tony. Yes, all 9 films are encompassed in that poster on the left. Yes, exactly. Moving on.
This guy is one of my favorites coming up.
So yeah, here's another example of a couple Jerry Vanderstelt pieces, Celebration exclusive prints or other outlets as well. Just really nice airbrush style, just gorgeous to look at.
Yeah, it just so pops if you love artwork the way I do. Yeah. Man, that's an incredible piece.
Go say hi to him at his booth. He's a really nice guy.
He's a nice guy too. Yeah.
Paul Shipper, these are a couple, again, it's cool to see a magazine cover, Empire magazine, a very famous movie magazine. So Paul Shipper does a lot of various, not just Star Wars, he'll do other film titles as well, like Ghostbusters or Back to the Future or whatever, to promote older films, and just some striking illustration imagery. And
also, I just want to mention, we had an artist help us out, did a nice poster painting. Here on the far left, that's Jason McFly Kincaid, who was gracious enough to create that original piece of artwork for our group, and that the giveaway we are providing today is a representation of that artwork. We got one more slide, and I love this. I've seen this in person. I marvel at it because it just combines so many different cool things. I hope I don't put you on the spot. Okay, here we go.
So this is my most personal special posters in my collection. In addition to just collecting posters, I happened to go on a wild goose chase 25 years ago and start to collect signatures of cast and crew of the original Star Wars trilogy, as well as the prequel trilogy, because at the time it was just 6 films. And so right around the time of Phantom Menace, I just got this wild hair idea, like, hey, I'm going to start, since cast and crew was still alive, most of them at the time, I thought it would be cool to get silver paint pen signatures on this Style B advance poster. And I didn't want them to sign over the logo graphic, so I've just had signatures all around the logo, basically, and so it all bleeds as a big collage. But I've traveled the world with this particular poster. Before I got my first signature on it, I had it linen-backed, and it was a rolled poster, but I had it linen-backed, so I knew I was going to be unrolling it and rolling it constantly for autographs, much like you can do here at the convention over the next 4 days. But I wanted to maintain the condition of it as best as possible, so I carried around the globe in a huge PVC tube, taken around on airplanes and whatnot. But the poster has traveled to London countless times. I've been to New York City with the poster. I've been to LA, Hollywood, all over California with that poster, Northern California. I took the poster up to Australia one time, almost 20 years ago, to collect some signatures from prequel actors. It's almost done. It's got about 280 signatures on it right now. I'm hoping to top out at around 300, but again, it doesn't include episodes 7, 8, and 9 because at the time I was focused on just the films of George Lucas, and I just decided to leave it that way to just have a clean break. Disney is the new thing. But again, this is my own personal passion. I just like a lot of people add signatures to a poster, and that's another qualifier. Like sometimes you might want to get the original artist to sign their piece of artwork as a poster, which is great, or you would like to get actors or filmmakers to sign posters as well. So they're really neat images to take around and get souvenirs on, basically.
Yeah, one of the things, I think this particular poster lends itself to autographs. I mean, it's just incredible, the amount of autographs, but it lends itself to it because there's no real artwork on it. It's just the logo, and you've kept the logo intact. However, some of us poster purists, we don't like autographs on our artwork. What I have done, I've kind of mixed it up a little bit. I have autographs on some of these posters, but they're the autographs of the artists that actually did them. It's just, I love the artists and their artwork. I admire them, and that's why I've done that over time. So.
I would like to share two quick stories about two of the autographs on this poster. Dead center is the famous GL from George Lucas. I wanted him to be dead center, so I kind of designed the poster and where I wanted signatures to be laid out. On the top of the poster are the primary casts from the first 6 films. In the middle is more the production support creative talent. And off to the right, near the top of the letter R, you can see John Williams with his signature, and he actually put musical note bars on there for the main title music. This was before 9/11. I actually sent a fan letter, believe it or not, to his offices at Amblin Studios, and I got a reply. And because I was living in Hollywood, and I said, hey, I've got this poster, I'm starting a request. Is there any way I could get Mr. Williams to sign my poster? And I got a call, and they said, yep, come by, drop your poster off. This won't happen these days, but it was a really nice favor, and so it was just a miracle that happened. And then back to the George story, I met George briefly actually at Disneyland at the Grand Californian Hotel just across the street here, and was able to get him to sign this poster there in the lobby one day, which was incredible.
So we're going to take questions in the Collector's Lounge. So thank you so much for attending. Don't forget to get your poster on the way out.
Thank you.